Hello, I am Ruby Falconer. Today's date is November 23rd, 2020, and this is an astrological update from the perspective of Shamanic Egyptian Astrology. We have a shift. The energy is starting to change. On Saturday, the 21st, we had Venus move into Scorpio and the Sun move into Sagittarius. These two signs are both intense in different ways. Scorpio is a water sign allied with Bast, and it's about awakening our holy longing. Sagittarius is a fire sign allied with Sekhmet, and it's about aligning oneself with a cause, making something happen, something that's important. So these two signs bring a type of passion in different ways and different sorts of expressions, but they do bring a sort of an intensity, and it's different than the kind of intensity that we've been experiencing for the last 6 months. Over this period of time, this last 6 months, the Great Shift alignment has been extremely prominent. It's still prominent now, but it's prominent in a different way. And as planets, in particular the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars have come into a relationship with the Great Shift planets, they've really activated what this energy is about. And as they've come into a relationship when they move into cardinal signs, and that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So right now, we don't have any of these planets in relationship to the Great Shift planets except Mars. You know, Mars recently turned direct, and Mars is coming back in relationship with them, but it's going to be different. Mars is going to come into a square to Pluto, but by the time it comes into relationship with Jupiter and Saturn again, when it comes into a square, Mars will have left Aries and be in Taurus, and Jupiter and Saturn will be in Aquarius. So it's going to be a different kind of energy. So we really are kind of wrapping up the changes and the energies that have to do with the Great Shift planets. And I will emphasize, as I have all year long, that this really doesn't complete itself until the solstice on December 21st, but we're definitely in a different phase, you know, in an ending phase. And that might seem counterintuitive, because at least here in the United States, we have perhaps the worst intensity around the COVID-19 that we've had all year. Even though the spring for us, March, April, May, was really difficult, and it didn't get better in the summer, even though people thought and hoped that it would. It got a little bit better, but not a lot. But right now it's really bad. The numbers that we have per day are extremely high. They're around 190,000 new cases a day. And for the last few days, we've had close to 2,000 deaths for about 3 days in a row this last week, 2,000 deaths a day. So that's a lot, and it's really meant that as a nation we've had to kind of step back and keep looking at this. I think what's different now is people are taking it more seriously. And people are, perhaps here in the United States, individualistic culture that we are, starting to cooperate with some of the mask mandates and some of the other things. Of course, we've had an election, and it does appear that things are wrapping up with that as well. There's still uncertainty everywhere we look, but we're inching a little bit more towards certainty, and we're inching a little bit more towards completion of some question marks that we've had in our national psyche for quite a while. And I'm sure that this is taking place in other parts of the world as well, in your own version that's appropriate with your own culture, appropriate to your own culture. So we've got a shift going on. We still have right now the Great Shift planets, and most particularly Pluto, is in a square to Eris. Eris is the goddess of strife and discord. She is in, right now, a loose conjunction, but it's an applying conjunction to Mars. And Mars, Sat, and Eris are sidekicks. You know, Mars is the god of war. He's Set, the warrior king. He shows up for battles. He shows up to manifest things. He shows up sometimes just to create mayhem. And when he shows up in that guise, that form, when he shows up for a battle, Eris is right there with him. So we still have that element there. You know, things aren't crystal clear and easy and simple. but we can see a light at the tunnel. And bringing up that concept of a tunnel is important because as we look at what's going on during this week, we have two things that are standing out astrologically. One is that the planet Neptune, who is Nephthys in the Egyptian pantheon, Nephthys is the keeper of the mysteries behind the veils. Neptune is slowing down to station. Neptune's going to be turning direct, and that will take place on Saturday, the 28th in the evening here on the East Coast. And it takes place in the sign Pisces, and that is Neptune's own sign. So Neptune's been for several years now moving through its own sign, emanating through Pisces. And Pisces in the Egyptian pantheon is Sothis. Sothis is the star Sirius. And Sothis represents our connection with star energy. It is the bodhisattva energy. It is the individual who keeps returning to Earth, not because they have to, but because they want to, because they feel committed to staying with Earth until Earth and all of its inhabitants are ready to move up to the next octave of expression and experience. So it's a powerful energy to have Neptune, Nephthys, keeper of the mysteries behind the veils, emanating through Sothis, emanating through its own sign. And Nephthys is about being able to pull the veil apart and look and see what's behind it, what's being hidden. So it's about, first of all, us being willing to enter into the myths and enter into the mystery. And it's also about that mystery parting to give us access to hidden information, which comes from star energy. In traditional astrology, Nephthys is Neptune, which is, its traditional meanings are spiritual awareness, cosmic consciousness, higher understanding, illumination, intuition, inspiration, imagination. It's also in its shadow, illusion, delusion, confusion. So Neptune in traditional astrology, if it's strong in a chart, it's sometimes associated with a tendency towards addiction, a tendency towards confusion, towards being easily overwhelmed. And it's also a person who feels a strong connection with a spiritual alignment in some way. And that can be part of the confusion, because that energy is not earth energy in a traditional way. So those folks who are closely aligned to that sometimes do get confused. It's kind of hard to know what's real and what's not real when you're dealing with strong Neptune energy in your personality and in your chart. And we're going to have strong Neptune energy coming in this week. Whenever any one of the outer planets becomes stationary, and right now I'm specifically referring to the three planets that have the most to do with change on our planet, and that's Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Whenever they become stationary, their influence becomes quite strong. And so as we proceed through this week, we're going to have Neptune progressively slowing down. And a stationary period, technically it's only 2 or 3 days, but really it's more like a week, 10 days. So we're already starting to feel some of the nebulousness that will come with Neptune being stationary, some of the uncertainty, some of the, it's not sure how this is all going to play out. It's also, sort of feeling like, if it's strong in your own chart, that you're having the rug pulled out from under you, that you're standing in quicksand, trying to push through mud. You get the images, that I'm putting forth here. It's kind of a nebulous sort of feeling. And there is a guide, and the guide is Nephthys. She's the lunar sister of Isis. Nephthys and Isis are twins. And while Isis is the solar force, she's aligned with Venus. Nephthys is the lunar force. She's aligned with Neptune. And she's sometimes called the veiled Isis. And so she has many of the same qualities as Isis in that she is very loving, but in a different sort of way. She's kind of like our cosmic mother. So she's less of a earth mother, less of a solar mother, more of a cosmic mother. And so the energy isn't quite as touchy-feely, but she's got that big sort of energy, and she's loving and holding in that way. And she's also our connection with the stars and with the mysteries, with the things that are hidden behind the veils. Now, we also are moving into this week we're going to be having a lunar eclipse. And the lunar eclipse will take place on Monday. It will take place a week from today, but I want to talk about it now since I do these talks on Monday. So that everyone can be aware that as we move through this week, we're going to be moving toward a lunar eclipse. This will be in Gemini, and it will be what's called a penumbral eclipse. And a penumbral lunar eclipse happens when the eclipse isn't lined up exact. So the Earth does not block out, the light of the sun on the moon. The light of the sun is still on the moon. It's more like a shadow is cast onto the moon. And for some people, it's kind of hard to tell the difference from a usual full moon, but it's darkened. It's not quite as bright. It's shadowed. And it will be visible in the United States. It'll be visible in Australia. It'll be kind of visible also in North and South America. So North and South America, Australia, parts of Asia, that will all be able to see this particular lunar eclipse. So again, it's going to have that kind of shadowy sort of thing where sort of the bright light of the full moon is dimmed. And eclipses always come in pairs. Sometimes they come in three. And the periods between eclipse phases are of a sort of a type. They resonate with each other. So our last eclipse series took place from June 5th through July 4th. So it was a 3 eclipse period. It was comprised of 2 lunar eclipses on the 5th and June 5th and July 4th. And then in the middle, right around the time of the solstice on the 20th of June, there was a solar eclipse. And so this was a long phase in between, a long eclipse phase. And I always think of these eclipse phases as tunnels, that we're entering the tunnel. It's like kind of we're moving between one phase of experience to another. So one of the ways to look at this is that the phase of experience, which is coming to completion this week and completes with the lunar eclipse on next Monday on the 30th, began back on July 4th, which in the United States is Independence Day, 4th of July. And so everything that's happened since then has been related in some way. It's been of a piece, so to speak. And we are now going to be leaving this phase. And next Monday, we're going to be entering a 2-week tunnel, a portal between 2 phases. And the next phase will begin on December 14th when there will be a total solar eclipse, which will take place in Sagittarius. And that will not be visible in the United States. It will be visible in South America. And that's pretty much the only place, is Southern South America is where that total solar eclipse will be visible. But, although it's very powerful to, be under an eclipse, most certainly it gives it a little bit of an extra edge. But one of the things that we understand now, thanks to science and astronomy, which has taught us this, that the eclipses happen through our entire planet. They may seem like a local event because they're only visible in some parts of the planet, but they're happening to the entire planet. So even if we can't see it, it's still happening to us. So even if you live in a part of the world where that total solar eclipse on the 14th isn't visible to you, it's still having an impact. And with the exit from that eclipse on the 14th, we are going to be entering into a new phase. And everything's going to be completing itself at that point. We exit on the 14th. A week later on the 21st, the Great Shift Alignment completes itself. And then we start to move into a really different kind of energy, which will be taking place throughout 2021 and extending into 2022. And it has to do with the planet Saturn and Uranus. And I'll talk more about that soon. But I want to stay with where we are, just to know, one of the ways I've often sort of describe 2020 is it's had a very Saturnian element to it, in that we've been held, we've been contained, we've been restrained, constrained, stuck, all of that sort of thing, and all of the energies that come with feeling that way, which is to be irritated and kind of straining against the bonds, but we can't move it. We've been encountered an immutable force, and the immutable force, the overriding immutable force, has been the coronavirus, and with lots of other things happening both in relationship to that, in relationship to the things that have happened as a result of that, and also other elements that have taken place as well. In the United States, it's definitely had to do with the election and with people's various responses to the present administration, and also with systemic injustice in our police system and our legal system that we're beginning to address in new ways. Hopefully we'll continue to do that. So lots of things have been going on, certainly in the United States. And again, I have no doubt, these are global influences. So wherever you live, there's been similar stresses and similar sorts of things that have kept the energy feeling stuck, constrained, restrained, that type of energy taking place. So, we've had all of that. And it's going to shift, and we are beginning now to move into the time of shift to a new energy, completion of where we're at, and moving into something new. And this portal piece that will take place from November 30th through December 14th is when we're kind of moving in between the worlds. And, I'll talk more about it next week, but what's going to be very important to do during that time is to let go of anything you don't want to take with you. Anything that has been true for you since July 4th that you're ready to release, you're ready to let it dissolve away. It's like going through a birth canal, because you're going to be emerging into something new on December 14th and beginning to move into a new phase, which will continue until the next eclipse phase next year in 2021, which is, I don't remember exactly when that is, but it's usually 5 or 6 months. So, it's important to be aware of that. So I want to come back to Nephthys, because that's who we're going to journey with today, is Nephthys, the keeper of the mysteries behind the veils. What she does is she kind of stands in the mystery. Again, she's the veiled Isis, so we can't really see her. But if we listen, we can hear her voice. And she calls us, invites us to step into the mists. And in order to do that, we have to trust her, which is not always easy. In Egyptian myth, Nephthys is the abandoning mother. She is the abandoner of Anubis, who her newborn child, who she took out into the desert and left him. And there's a reason, if you look at the myth, there was a reason why this happened, and it's a story I'm not going to go into right now, other than to say that the end result is it's difficult to trust that which we cannot see, to trust that sort of disembodied voice, which is telling us step forward, move forward, step into this portal, be ready to let go of however you've defined yourself over the last 5 months, and allow yourself to re-emerge, to be reborn in a sense, in a new way, and allow whatever needs to happen to happen. We've been disassembled, we've been dismantled. It's going to be time to start to reform soon. And in order to do that, we have to not only let go of whatever is left, whatever needs to be continue to be released, disassembled, whatever pieces are still holding on, but we also have to let go of the attachment to being disassembled, because it's going to be time to create a new form. So we're going to need to move willingly to that. So I'm going to offer today a journey with Nephthys. And so I want to invite everyone to get comfortable. If you're sitting up, put your feet flat on the floor. If you're lying down, just get your body comfortable. It's important to be comfortable, whether you're sitting or standing, and take a couple of nice deep breaths. Exhale fully. Dropping your shoulders. Putting your hands loosely, either on your knees or by your side, whatever's comfortable, depending on whether you're sitting or lying down. Just keep breathing, nice, even breaths, cleansing breaths. Imagine that the breath is like water, and it washes through your body, and it cleanses and purges, dislodges debris, things that are stuck, so it can flow out. And imagine that tension, distraction, energy blocks are just flowing on out through your body, out through your toes, out through your fingertips, and away. And with each breath, you slip deeper and deeper. And I invite you to imagine that it is nighttime. And you are in a forest. And this is a magic forest. It's mystical. There's light filtering through the branches of the trees. And there is mist everywhere. You feel the coolness on your skin. You can hear the creatures of the night talking, chirping, rustling, the occasional screech, or howl, or cry. You're safe. There's nothing that's going to hurt you. But you may experience that sort of tingly feeling when you've put yourself out someplace at night, far from civilization. There's no one nearby. You're taking a risk here. You're trusting something, someone, to keep you safe out here in this mystical, magical forest. And you become aware that there is a glowing light illuminating a pathway. And you begin to walk along this pathway, following the light. This is not the light of sunlight. It's like a kind of a glow in the mist. And you come into a clearing. And the light is strong enough that you can see around you. It's subdued, but you can see where you are. You're in a clearing surrounded by trees. And where the glow in the dark is strongest, you become aware that there is someone there. And you can't see this being, even though you try. You see only a kind of an outline of a form. This is Nephthys, the veiled Isis, keeper of the mysteries behind the veils. She's here to invite you to pass through the veils, to enter the mystery. She's here to help you to be willing to release that which needs to be released, that which you do not want to take with you into your next phase. She's here to give you visions of the future, give you visions of who you are, what you're meant to do, what your next version of yourself is to be. It's time to prepare for rebirth. And she is here to plant the visions that will support that process for you. I'm going to be quiet now for a couple of minutes and let you go on a journey with Nephthys and explore what's hidden for you behind the veils. Nice deep breath. Nephthys has a gift for you. Maybe a symbol, an image, a color, a word, a memory. Something to hold close to you to help you remember what she has shown you. It is yours to manifest if you wish. She returns you now to the clearing, and you realize that waiting for you is Isis, Queen Mother of Heaven, she who is with us through every process of transformation and change. She has been with us throughout this year, through every process we have gone through. And she invites you into her arms. She wraps her rainbow wings around you. And she invites you to rest against her and soak up her amazingly beautiful energy. And let yourself know you are not alone. You are loved, and you are held. Take a nice deep breath and come slowly back into the room. Thank you. We will talk again.